Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Inside Line podcast. We are here today with Jen McVey, who is the president of Nidecker North America and a highly valued SIA board member. Welcome to the show. So nice to have you, Jen.
Thank you.
Hey, Jen, good to see you again. Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining.
Likewise.
So you have to tell us where you're calling in from.
So I'm in Switzerland, about 10 minutes from the Nidecker office, which is halfway between, or maybe not halfway, but anyways, between Geneva and Lausanne. And we just had a global sales meeting for Jones, 32, and Nidecker. So it's been a long week.
That's a busy week.
Yeah.
How many people attended?
180.
That's a busy week.
That's a super busy week.
You look really, really fresh for a week of sales meetings with 180 people.
It's makeup.
That's awesome. So if you wouldn't mind rounding out the groupings of brands under Nidecker, that would be awesome. You mentioned 3 there.
Yeah. So that's Jones, 32. We also do Yes Snowboards, Nidecker Snowboards, Battalion Snowboards, Rome Snowboards. And then on the footwear side, in the skateboarding world, we do Etnies, S, and America.
That's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. I'm just thinking about it within the context of a global sales meeting in Switzerland, right at the precipice as we're heading into the 25-26 winter season. So I guess a really fun place to start is like, what's the outlook over there? You're kind of in the epicenter of it. And I mean, Nick and I are over here on the tertiary in North America.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's pretty optimistic and positive, and I feel like we were all really scared to death of the tariffs and, having to raise prices and what's going to happen in the market. But like so far, so good. Hopefully we'll have a La Nina winter and we'll get a lot of snow and it'll be great. But in particular for the Nidecker group, we have a lot of innovation happening. So we have a lot of new product categories that really help. So we're introducing the phase binding. 4 brands are coming out with the phase binding, which is a fast entry binding. And then we recently acquired 32 boots, but we're introducing 32 bindings and snowboards for next year. So that's 2 new categories for 32. So I just think like these new categories are going to give us a lift, and we're going to be all right.
It's going to give everyone a lift. We all need innovation, and we love hard goods on this show.
We love hard goods. Innovation is the best topic for sure. What's the most exciting innovation that you guys are launching this year that you think is going to be, industry changing, or everyone is really excited to see?
Yeah, definitely the phase binding.
Yeah.
Because it's a fast entry binding, but it rides like a 2-strap binding. So
fast entry.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
People back in the day it was like step-ins, and then there were step-ons. Couple few years ago, we came out with the Supermatic, which is also a fast entry binding. And this binding, you sort of you step in and like right away. You don't need to bend over and do your ratchets or whatever. You can just put your foot in the back, your back binding, and step down, and you're clicked in, and you go, and you're locked in.
That was the worst part. I love snowboarding, and just the constant bending over, ratcheting the 2 straps, ratcheting them down, undoing them. It's like a total head rush, every run twice.
Yeah, so it's you like get off the lift, step in, and you're off. So like
That's
for
awesome.
sure, if you ride with skiers, I know a lot of us ride with skiers, and
Never
they always just leave you, leave you at the top of the chair. But now we'll be able to keep up. And Jeremy Jones is riding them. Victor De La Rue is riding them. They really ride like
You've
super
got
solid.
credible athletes on your roster.
Yeah.
Super credible. Cool. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be fun and huge this year.
That's great. I imagine in the mix at your sales meeting, you guys went over some regional outlooks and whatnot. I don't know if you have anything that you want to share in terms of just regional updates or anything that isn't, something that is going to give away a trade secret, obviously.
Yeah. One interesting thing. So for example, Jones makes outerwear, and we are working with Heva Birgisdottir as the designer. That was the CEO and founder of Nikita, who I worked with for 10 years back in the day. And she worked really hard at designing the outerwear, like keeping the quality really high, but kind of designing the price out so we could get the pricing down and more competitive. But it was interesting when we were looking at the pricing, it was like Europe, the pricing is coming down. Canada, the pricing is coming down. But in the States, we're not able to come down as much because of the tariffs, right? So I think that's just going to be a really interesting thing around the world where, the United States, things are going to be more expensive than the United States than, for example, in Canada, which is it's usually the opposite.
Right across the border. I think anecdotally,
Right.
though, we're hearing that from so many brands, price increases. Not everyone, but I think just generally speaking, price increases here in the U.S. And then obviously there's the weak dollar, compared to the EU. So there's going to be some, price and FX changes there. But I think everyone, we're kind of in that no man's land right now. We call it like October 10 to November 10, where the weather's changing. It's not snowing. The resorts haven't opened. Everyone has this built up anticipation, and everyone's trying to check the box of increased costs, tariffs, FX, et cetera, et cetera. So how are you guys? You guys are feeling good about that, it sounds like?
Yeah, well, at the sales meeting, the joke was that everyone wanted to make hats that said mega, like, and then make Europe great again, because it's like the last few years, I don't think Europe's been like really on fire, but now I think that there's a lot of optimism for the European market, like compared to our market, because we're struggling with these price increases. But on the other hand, it's like we're all in the same boat. We're all in it together in the States. So,
Well, I think
it's all across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what people don't understand is that this is a truly global industry and a global business. And really what makes up the success rate for any and all brands that are truly global is you have Europe, mega, and Europe could use a mega winter, by the way. They had an okay winter last year. The year before it was non-existent. And, and then you've got North America. Fortunately, we've had a couple good years. Last year, coast to coast was average, I think is fair to say. And then you have Asia. So if you think about, Europe, if mega has a great winter and MAGA has an average winter, I guess we'll have to come up with one for Asia. But anyway, and Asia has, a little bit less of an average. That all averages out. So if we can just have a straight line average approach to the global business, I think everyone will manage just fine. But it's, again, as I was saying earlier, it's just challenging in this no man's land in the calendar as we are getting and building up towards, the holiday season and certainly, the snow flying globally.
Well, I have to say that's just a really interesting way to kick off a season at a sales meeting like that with 180 of your closest comrades. I mean, it is exciting that you got to have the new product introductions, and I also think it's interesting that you had 10 years of experience working with Nikita before that designer was now brought on to Jones. Like that must be an incredible relationship and also evolution that you've seen for that brand. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, because it sounds like you just have a great rapport and work experience there.
Yeah, we had a great week this week. Just being able to hang out because she lives in Iceland and we don't see each other very often. But way back in the day when I was working with Nikita, Tiffany Jones, Jeremy Jones' wife, and I, rode together. We were friends. So she also knew Hayla back then because Hayla would come to Tahoe all the time and ride with us and visit us. So that's how they kind of formed a relationship. And then they brought her on to design the Jones outerwear. And so this week at the sales meeting, Tiffany Jones is here and Hayla's here. Susanna Dockgruber, who designs the 32 outerwear, is here. And it's really nice to hang out with women that you've known for like many, many, many years in the industry. And I'll be honest, in a sea of men, right? We would kind of huddle in the corner. There are definitely, like, in the offices, there's more women. In like our office in Tahoe and the Nidecker office in Switzerland working in the office. But in terms of reps and distributors, it's really male dominated. So it was nice to have some ladies to have a glass of wine with instead of drinking beer.
Mm-hmm. It might have a great opportunity to grow that. I doubt, nobody puts Jen in a corner, right? Let alone those other powerhouse ladies.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like the ratio all week. Yeah, and yeah, so
I'll just tell you, it's really good for everybody there that you all were there to talk about the outerwear and trends and everything else. It really helps, I think, bring an evolution from the like creative genesis of it to the market through this sales meeting function, if you will. And I've been to a number of those myself where you're almost teaching some male sales reps like how to sell jog bras and different things like that. And over the years, I've done a lot of these sales meetings, and it's very, very helpful when the designer's there, when they can talk about the like visual cues and the whole impetus of the line and the colors. And I personally think, they're very lucky to have had the dream team there this week.
Yeah, we had a good time.
That's awesome. And I know that you also mentioned when we were doing our, rehearsals and research for the show, you talked about the importance of the SIA board in terms of the parity on that board and how much you enjoy that.
Yeah, for sure. I like on the Nidecker board, for example, I'm the only woman, I'm the only American. So when I joined the SIA board, just to like, Rachel and Melanie and all of the different women on the board to have that camaraderie. It's not something I'm really used to. We don't have a lot of women in leadership sometimes in our industry and at the corporate level. So that was really nice. And Donna, I have a quote from Donna Carpenter. She told me this, she researched this, that when you get to a point where you have 30% of your board is female, that's like the tipping point where women start to feel comfortable expressing themselves and all that. And I don't know if, Nick, you can tell me if the board for SIA is designed like that. But anyway, Donna told me that last week. I thought that was a really interesting statistic.
Yeah, we've been intentional to diversify the board. When I first started, we had a 21 person board, primarily all male.
Wow.
And I think we had 2 females on the within the group. And it was really hard for them to get their comments and points across. And it was a very male dominated conversation. And I had come from Burton Snowboard, so I was used to diversification. I was used to, really the people that were making the real decisions were the women in the room. And we wanted to have a more balanced board. And this was before DEI, and this was before, COVID. And we really intentionally looked and sought out women leaders within the industry. And so fast forward, now we are more than a third women. And we've got people of color and, different individuals on the board that represent so many different corners of life, let alone the industry. But for SIA to be successful, we have to embrace change. We have to embrace diversity, and honestly, we have to embrace leadership. And leadership comes in all forms. And right now, we're seeing a lot of really, really strong women that we want on our board. Like, we're not going to say no, and we want the leaders so we can do the best work for the industry and lead by example. So, we're blessed to have Jen, we're blessed to have Rachel and Melanie, and we've had Brooke and a number of others that have
Danica.
come. And Danica, who we love tremendously. And so, yeah, it's been really fun. Great operations and amazing leaders.
That's great. I love hearing that. And also, let's be honest, we have almost like traumatic change happening globally in our business. So I think it's great to let a new line of sight in and to have some new voices out there to look at perspectives differently and not try and just do what we did at the last horrific horizon line that we operated through. There's all kinds of opportunity, I think, to come up with great new solutions these days. So yeah, on that note, I'm really glad that you were able to speak to that. And I think that there's a lot of up and coming women leaders and just people who love snow sports and outdoor who are joining these industries. So I think it's more important than ever that they're able to see themselves in leaders across the industry. So I personally, love SIA for all that they stand for there. And that's not been an easy road for them and they've never backed down. So it's great that we have that. So let's go back to, I can't stop, talking about the fact that you're in Switzerland, just having left the sales meeting, because it's such a great opportunity for us to hear kind of some key takeaways and through lines that you heard. You manage so many categories and so many brands. I can't even imagine how this week was structured, but I guess I'm just curious if you can give us any line of sight on footwear, apparel, hard goods, like anything that you are seeing we're going to have to be, more strategic over here. Sure, we talked about the price discrepancies, but just about categories within different regions. Did anything bubble up to the surface there?
I think the innovation point that I brought up earlier is really key. I really feel that it's super important to keep innovating, to keep introducing new products and new ideas, new technology, because otherwise, really your growth is just 5% on last year's this kind of not very steep curve. So I think that was a theme. Another thing a lot of people were talking about, because distributors are action sports distributors often. So they're, they do running shoes, they do outdoor, they do skateboarding, they do surfing, they do snow. And the big theme was with all the license, everything that happened with board riders, basically, that we're kind of at a fresh, it's like a clean slate, I would say, in the industry, of the action sports industry. All the retailers are looking for fresh new brands. What are the kids doing? Distributors from other countries talking to each other, what are you seeing in your country that I might import into my country? A lot of really interesting conversations about new brands, young brands developed by young people, which I think is really exciting. So I think there's going to be a kind of a regeneration of the industry in the next year or two, where you're just going to see all sorts of new stuff.
It feels like we're really on the precipice of, kind of a culture shift where, we've been doing this long enough It's almost been rinse and repeat to a fault. And now, there is an element of excitement that is, kind of coming forward. It's always been there, but it just seems like it's been a renewed level of excitement for something new, something fresh, something, the consumer wants something, the user, the kids are really hungry for some change. How are you? I mean, with all the brands that you have, it sounds like you're right on the cutting edge of that too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we are youth driven. We love the youth, so we always feel like we need to be on like the front lines of whatever the kids want. Yeah, one thing that was really interesting is the Jones team, we did a day in Chamonix. And as we were walking through town, we were all remarking on trail running is like the hot new thing. There's a Hoka store right in the middle of the village in front of the post office. There's a New Balance. I mean, there's so many trail running stores in like downtown Chamonix that yeah, Haven and I were like, wow, this is like the hot new thing, trail running. And so when it comes to like footwear, it's like, what do we need to do about that? So
And,
yeah.
and Chamonix is the real deal. I mean, you see not only, amazing trends and, they just did the, I don't know the name of the race, but it's a 200-mile trail run a couple weeks ago, and the number of people that were there, hundreds and if not thousands, doing these traverse runs, but that user in Chamonix, I don't think could live it any harder than they do there. That's the real deal, and that is a great place to market test, see what's happening in Europe, but also know that user is a very high end user.
It's interesting because it is a high end user, and I think that trend is definitely strong in all of outdoor, and it's great to see that it's in a 4-season destination like that. But it's really broadcasting from there through the events and through the people training there and the communities that are forming around different, channels that they're attuned to, or groups or communities that youth consumers are joining. And that might be part, if you see it the way I've been seeing it, that's definitely how we're seeing like a youth movement come in. Like there's a whole world that maybe more people our age, if you will, running shops or running brands, et cetera. Like there's a whole world out there in terms of communities that are built and how people are sharing content around, whether it's competitions or whether it's trips or whatever, that's really inviting people of all ages and all levels to come in and experience. And I feel like that might be what's propelling what you're seeing that we're on the precipice of. And I think it's very exciting. And I think it's something we've never actually seen before because these channels haven't existed. And these communities are youth and they're forming and they're strong and they're global. It's crazy. The new brands that you said are coming online, you're probably talking about obviously what you're introducing at your sales, what you're doing for what the coming winter. But there's also just across the industry, like these micro communities around segments of outdoor and snow sports that are, I think, bigger than anything we used to see with like readerships of magazines in the past, or even, people watching and going to movie launches and movie debuts and whatnot. So it's just, to me, it's like fascinating how people are like kind of reporting from different places all over the world. And that's what's driving like brand adoption these days. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So on that note, I was hoping also to talk a little bit about, this is, again, probably could talk 4 hours about this, but like, do you have anything that you can share top line, if you will, around, transparency and sustainability around all these brands and categories that you're managing globally and the different, everything that we're seeing across the world from a compliance standpoint? We've talked about tariffs, and that was super cool to hear and interesting around perspective on North America versus Europe versus Asia. How are people talking at your sales meeting this week around like sustainability, compliance, and how that's going to be conveyed to consumers at retail? Did any of that come up? Do you have anything new to share on that front?
Yeah, well, okay, so compliance and sustainability, in a way, two different things.
Yes.
Even though the compliance is kind of around sustainability, and it's been pretty intense lately for us. We finally hired a compliance manager for the group. She sits here in Europe. So she started September 1st, and she's like guns blazing. And once you get into the requirements and what she's asking of our different subsidiaries around, well, I, obviously I focus on North America, but I think this is the case for the Europeans and everybody. The level of detail of questions that she's asking us, and then it's like, you need to give us all this information about your packaging. So it's involving, the R&D department, and then it's involving anyone in logistics that's going through 3PL, and then even the sales guide, because we even, like in Colorado, for example, you have to reach out to your retailers to see what kind of packaging they're using. So that's definitely been a theme this week. I've been really, really busy filling out questionnaires in between all these meetings, because she's like, we're late. We got to go. We have all this, work to do. We have to catch up. So in the compliance world is really busy right now. It's really intense. To answer that question. And then on the sustainability side, Jones is like a leader in sustainability. And so the Jones part of the Nidecker meeting is always like really, really interesting and fun because everything's recycled. We recycle snowboards. All of our outerwear comes from recycled materials, recycled down. And again, that's innovation, right? It's just being innovative about using sustainable materials. Yeah, I don't know.
I love that. It is innovation these days. And I think the more that consumers are going to see like the news backdrop of everything that's happening in compliance, because they can't not see it anymore. Like it's in news, business and I think general interest media, it's all over the place. And I think it's just the second they start to see it in retail, whether, retailers are going to use it to virtue signal or whatever, that's when it's really going to be something people ask about and notice. And a brand like Jones is like epically positioned for that. I mean, it must be really interesting to have almost, it sounds like they might be a North Star within your group even.
Yeah, 100%. 100% the North Star and the leader within the Nidecker group. Any sustainability initiative that happens in the group starts with Jones. And then to the degree that the other brands can adopt it and it makes sense, it trickles down, which of course Jeremy loves because he wants to have as much impact as possible. But yeah, really grateful for Jer and the Jones brand that any kind of sustainability initiative or anything that we want to try or do, like from the product developers to sales to anything that would be maybe risky or we might fail. He is really into like, let's do it, let's try it, so we try things and they don't work out and then we try again, and so we're kind of like the guinea pigs for the group.
It's nice to have that. Great. It's nice to have that flexibility, but also that leadership that you can try new things. You can, and again, failing is just a form of trying it again and perfecting it. So it's the lessons there are so worthwhile. And what do you see though? What you mentioned the trickle down effect, and and using Jones as call it the guinea pig for the portfolio. But how do you measure success with Jones, and then what does that trickle down effect really look like for you guys?
So Jones Snowboards is kind of the leader in the group. I mean, not kind of, completely the leader in the group. And I would say that Nidecker Snowboards follows behind. And I think part of there's two reasons. One is because Xavier Nidecker is the brand manager for Jones. And then obviously he's a Nidecker. So Nidecker Snowboards, like he is able to transfer things over to the Nidecker brand.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But also, 1%. So Jones has been a supporter of 1% for the planet since like day one, and Nidecker Snowboards is also. So there's some similarities there between those two brands for sure.
How about from a material standpoint? Where does it cross over in terms of, like outerwear or anything like that, where you're basically doing like, maybe it's global purchasing or something when you find something that works that you can kind of run through the whole group?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, I can't really speak to the materials, unfortunately. I don't think I have a good answer for that, but I would say operationally, you know, packaging that we use, FSC certified packaging, or, we try to, for example, ship direct from our factories to our big retailers to avoid going through a 3PL and unpacking and putting things on trucks. So I think operationally, we work hard to take carbon out of the supply chain. And we're able, because we have multiple brands, to accomplish those things because we have enough volume. You know what I mean?
Totally. That's
you
great.
can create some efficiencies of scale, but then you can also, each brand has their own autonomy.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Yeah. I mean, that's, when you talk about your portfolio and the number of brands, I mean, that's no easy task. So, I mean, kudos to you guys. And, the outside looking in looks like you guys are crushing it. I'm sure there's a couple wrinkles internally, but you guys do a great job externally.
She's kind of like, hee. If only you saw what I did this week.
I know, right?
Well, and on that note, I mean, we definitely have so enjoyed connecting, and we would love to have you back on to kind of give us updates through this season, potentially, who knows? But I feel almost bad. I'm sure Nick does too, like holding you back from having dinner and potentially a beverage of some kind. What are you missing after being in Switzerland all week? Like, what would be your ideal dinner tonight, Jen?
A fondue, because I love fondue, and I've only had it once this week. On the opening night, the opening party evening welcome dinner was incredible. They did it at the Nidecker headquarters, and they had a guy come in with a truck, and he set up these sort of like tables all over the space, and it was like cocktail tables, and every single table had a fondue set up.
Wow.
And so we were like little campfires, and so we were all huddled around these fondue pots all over the parking lot, basically, of Nidecker. They tented the parking lot. It was so cool, but it wasn't enough fondue for me. So
I love it when you get to the bottom of the fondue pot, that cheese is just kind of burned into the bottom, and you can scrape that off, and that's like a cheese lollipop. It is so good.
Yeah.
I hope you get some fondue tonight.
So hopefully the closing dinner will be called Mega Fondue.
Mega Fondue.
Yeah. I think I have some colleagues downstairs that I was like, wait for me.
Well, we don't want to hold you up anymore. Like, we just have so enjoyed the conversation and feel so fortunate we were able to grab your insights fresh out of this. I mean, this is probably a tipping point sales meeting going into this season, coming out of this year, managing the complexity that all of you do. And I hope you get to have a great celebration tonight, but we're also just so fortunate that you were able to join us here today. Thank you so much.
That's nice of you to say.
Always
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Always nice to have you. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Okay.
We'll have you back. All right. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.